Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining our community call today. I had a bit of a mishap with my easel. Hopefully it'll stay standing.
It feels like ages since we've been it's been over a month, hasn't it?
It was
So
December 29th was our last
yeah. So welcome
call.
back, everyone. Thanks for joining.
So we'll start with...
Hi, Paolo. I just saw your note.
Yeah,
Hi,
Paula was
Shem.
the only one that was connected when I had my easel mishap. I hope it didn't make you jump too much. So we'll start with our chant. Get right into it. You can hear the harmonium okay? Yeah? Great. Narayanam namaskritya Narayanam namaskritya Naram Shaiva Narottamam Naram Shaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Tato Jayam Udiraye.
Thank you as always, Francis. That was beautiful.
Okay, just check the chat really quick. Unable to connect to the video. That's fine, as long as you're here with us. Nice to have everybody join. So, yeah, our chant. And then the next thing in our list, when Alice sent out the poll for what people wanted to review, was the Gana-s in our present system. And so I made this handy chart so that you could see all of the Gana-s on one page. Yeah, I highlighted the Gana-s in yellow, 1, 4, 6, and 10. I also put in the same color the 2 that take guna, because there's 2 of them that take guna, the 1st and the 10th, and the other 2 do not in the Gana-s. And then in the non-Gana-s, there are 4 of them that take guna in the strong forms, and 2 of them that have na added. In the 7th Gana, it's an infix, and in the 9th Gana, it's a suffix. So yeah, I figured we could just go through them really quickly, unless there's questions about that. Questions? No? Okay.
Are you able to zoom in a little bit? I don't know if it's just me, but or maybe it's
Yeah,
just...
hold on a second. I'm just going to turn the original sound off. I've listened back to some of the recordings, and I put the original sound on to capture the harmonium, so it captures more of the ambient sound. But then when we're having our meeting, you can hear my husband having lunch in the background, so I'm going to turn it off. You didn't notice, just me. Okay. Yes, I'll go back to sharing. I'll make it larger. Yeah? This good? Okay, great. So the first Gana is an Gana, the name of the root. So it's like usually the first verb of the category, and they call it that. So it could be called the first Gana. It could also be called the Bhu Gana or the Bhuvadi Gana. Bhuvadi because Adi meaning first, and Bhu is the first one in the first Gana. So Bhuvani Gana is another way you could call it. So the Gana sign is A. So that gets added on to the root. It gets suffixed to the root, so tacked on to the end. But before it gets added to the root, there's guna of the root vowel in all forms, so strong and weak. But then there are exceptions, and we'll look at that further down in 7.16. So in the example of pavati, we look at the root vowel is u. The guna of u is, who knows what the guna of u is? Quick quiz.
Oh.
Oh, yes, the guna of u is o, but then we have to add a. And what happens when o meets a? There's sandhi. So that's what this sandhi is, 3.8. The o gets broken up into its individual components, a and u. And then the u takes on its semi-vowel, which is va, so it becomes bhavati. The u becomes o, but then when it meets a, it becomes ow, and the u, or the u of the ow becomes va, and you get bhavati, and you get tack on all the endings to bhav, essentially. Does this make sense? Or bhava. Yeah? Good? Questions about that? Questions? The next is a non-ug.
I was just going to say, I just popped in the chat that the guna chart is on 3.7, so anyone can refer to that if they like, just in case you.
Oh yes,
not
I have the
memorised
guna
it.
chart, and I have the guna
Oh,
chart
you
down
had it.
here.
Yeah, so yeah, I've just got my book open, so it's quite useful to see at the same time.
Perfect. So then the second gana, or the ad gana, or the adadi gana, it takes guna of the root vowel only in strong forms. There's no gana sign, so nothing gets tacked on to the root. We just put on guna in strong forms, and we'll talk about that later. And then you tack on the endings. But here you can see the da, when you tacked on the ending t, which is the third person singular ending, the da became a da, and this is an internal sandhi. So I just referenced it there. Yeah, so you can check that out, and that's in lesson 7. As you go through each of the ganas, they show the different things that can affect the root before the endings get tacked on, and this is one such situation where the da became a da. It became its unvoiced component, constituent. Did you have a question, Diana? No? Okay. Okay, so that's second gana. Third gana is the hu gana, or huadi gana, and it has abhyasa, which means essentially repeating or reduplication. So the root gets repeated twice, and then there's rules around that. I'm not going to go into all the rules because I just want to get through all the different tables, but it gets prefixed to the root. But in the case of hu, the prefix, it becomes ju, and this is another sandhi rule that applies. Or actually, I don't know that it's a sandhi so much as it is an exception. 723D. Just look really quick. It says an initial kantya. Oh yeah, is represented by the talavya corresponding. So it isn't. It doesn't necessarily sandhi. It's just a rule that an initial kantya, which is the guttural, the first group of consonants, gets replaced by the palatal, which is the second mouth position, the palatal mouth position. So that's how the who, oh no, but in this case, that wouldn't be the case. Sorry, D, I'm looking, oh no, and then corresponding and voicing, while the ha, it just says while the ha is replaced by ja. So in this particular situation, the ha is replaced by ja. That's it. So instead of hu hoti, we get ju hoti. And then the fourth gana, the divadi gana, or the div gana, you add on a ya, it gets suffixed to the root. There's no guna. And in the chart, it says, note the long E. So I guess this is just particular to div. It becomes div, and then you add the ya, and then the endings. Because I looked at the other ones in the chapter, and there wasn't lengthening of the vowels. So it's not a regular thing. It's just something that happens particularly with div. And he doesn't address it as an exception or like mention other ones that follow this exception. So maybe this is just a particularity of this verb, and a verb that perhaps shows up quite a bit. So he decided to include that there, I'm assuming. Then we have the fifth gana, Su-gana. And this has nu as a suffix, so this gets tacked on to the root. And there is guna of the gana sign in the strong forms. So here the su becomes no, su, no, ti. It's the this that gets gunad, right? It's the sign that gets gunad. So that's where the u becomes o, and then you add the ending, and you get su, no, ti. That good? Great. The next gana, thanks Alice, for the thumbs up. We have the tud gana, the tudadi gana. We have an that gets suffixed to the root. There's no guna, so just the root, an and the ending. Pretty straightforward. Yeah, so that's sixth gana. Seventh gana is the rud or rudhadi gana. You add the na, but it is infixed. And this gets a little tricky because you infix na in the strong forms, but in the weak forms. And then on top of that, because of this sandhi, when there's a ra preceding, and I won't go into all of it because that sandhi rule is quite extensive. It needs to be followed by a certain letter, not followed by other letters, but it can often make this na turn into a cerebral na. So in this case, this is what happened. The na became na because of the ra preceding. And then here there's another sandhi happening when it meets the ending, and the voicing gets put onto the end, this extra da. So this is a whole, this is a whole other rule. If the root final aspirate precedes an initial ta, so the ending here would have been D, what ends up happening is the ending becomes voiced and takes on the aspiration. And then here it lost its aspiration. Anyway, to go into that whole thing. But this is what you end up getting here. The da becomes a da, but then takes on the aspiration from the root, which loses its aspiration. You get the double da, dhi. Ru, nad, hi. So there's two sandhis happening in this verb, in this particular example. And there's other sandhis in this particular gana, so you will want to look that up in your lesson if you want to see what those exceptions are or those sandhi rules that apply. And then we have tan, the eighth gana. U gets suffixed to the root. Again, it's guna of the gana sign of the u in strong forms. So again, on 5 and 8, he does group them together in the book. So they pretty much act similar to each other, except here it's a nu that's added, whereas here it's an u that's added. So it's a different gana sign, but essentially the same thing happens. It takes a o, it becomes o, takes guna when in strong form. Excuse me. So that's where we get ta noti. And then we have ninth gana, kri gana, where you have a suffix of na or ni. So again, a situation where depending on whether it's strong or weak, there'll be a different gana sign added. And in this case, it's suffixed, whereas in the seventh, it was infixed, so inside of the root itself. Here it's tacked on to the end. And similarly, that same rule here applied, where the ra was preceding the na, and so it became cerebralized. That's Sandhi Rule 359. And then the ending here becomes long talks about it in the 4th lesson, how the gets lengthened when it's preceding any endings which begin with the letter ma or va, it is lengthened, and then when it precedes the first person singular middle, but this is an ending. Yeah, actually, I'm not oh no, that's why. It's long sorry. In this case, it's long because the Gana sign is long Yeah, so it's Gana-di. That was confusing 2 things there. And then the last Gana is chur, and you add aya as a suffix, is the Gana sign. And then it's guna of the root vowel where possible, just like for the first Gana, but then there are exceptions, which we'll look at the bottom. So it becomes chorayati because the u becomes o, and then you tack on the aya, and then the ending di. Chorayati. This is good. So I put here just the gunas as a reminder. A is its own guna, E becomes A, U becomes O, R becomes ar. And then these are the exceptions. So they were mentioned for the first Gana and the 10th Gana. There are particular exceptions, 2 instances in which the root vowel, even though it should be subjected to guna, is exempt, so it doesn't apply. One is if there's a long root vowel followed by a final consonant, and Professor Bryant said there weren't many of these, so I made that note. And then the second case is when any root vowel is followed by a consonant cluster. So then examples of these are jeev, so a long E followed by the consonant v, jeevati, so it doesn't become J. Yeah, it remains long E. And then in the case of chint, or think, this is a consonant cluster. So the E also remains because of the cluster at the end. It's followed by a final cluster. So it becomes chintayati instead of chaindayati. Is that good? Questions? Comments, concerns? No. Okay. And then here I just put the endings for the Vartamani lat and in the Parasmaipada and the Atmanepada. And I put what the strong and weak are. So these are the strong, these are the weak. Actually, technically, if I did that, these would all be weak as well. There's no strong and weak. It's just they're all weak in the, maybe I should do that, in the Atmanepada. So here, just to make it consistent. Where did my, here it is. No, Phil. Up. Are there any, so actually, I think it might be good. I feel like at one point somebody mentioned maybe there's a way to, let me close all these things, a way to chant these as like a reminder of, and I know that Professor Bryant has his, how do I get rid of this? Let me just stop sharing for 2 seconds because there's too many things happening at the same time. Professor Bryant has his chant that he does to remind himself of the endings, and then we have one in our tradition, or when I learned the endings, we have a tune that we chant. So I was thinking maybe we could do that, unless there's questions or you want to maybe we could try conjugating a verb together. We still have 20 minutes, right? Because we were going to break out at 2:40. Okay. So yeah, I mean, we'll take it to the group. What are you all feeling would be useful for you or helpful?
Let's
Try.
chanting.
Let's do chanting. I like that. Okay. So let's see. Let me see if I can open you up into a gallery. I see everybody that's here. We are 13 participants. Okay, so I could do it a line at a time, and then I'll call on people. Okay, so it would be ti, ta, an, ti, ta, an, ti. Want to go, Diana? I know you're used to doing these together.
Ti, ta, an, ti, ta, an, ti.
I would just because I know Diana.
No,
I would
no,
just
you're
warn
right.
you. I would just warn you, Diana. I know we're doing the sing-songy thing, but if you go ta, that makes it sound long. So I would just do
I've kind
ta.
of forced myself to learn the H at the very end. Because
Ti.
so long as it's tita, auntie, well, it's not tita, auntie, it's he.
Yeah, I just would be careful.
Auntie. Okay, you're right.
Oh, you're doing a taha? That's fine. You can do that.
Ti,
Okay.
ta, auntie, it's not tita, auntie. Yeah, I know, I have to force myself. Thank you.
And then the next one be si, ha, ha. Si, ha, ha. Jan, you want to try?
Si, ta, ta. Si, ta, ta.
Beautiful. Mi, va, ma. Mi, va, ma. Sky.
Mi, va, ma. Mi, va, ma.
And we can do the atmanepada endings, same sort of melody. Te, ate, ante, te, ate, ante. Kara.
Te, ate, ante, te, ate, ante.
Nice. Se, ate, the fe. Se, ate, the fe. Shanti, I'm going to get you to do these. Lots of aspiration. Oh, you're still muted.
I'm having problems with my tech machines here. So can you hear me now?
Yes.
I mean, okay. Which is say ate ante ade. Which are
Se,
we?
ate, the fe. Se, ate, the fe.
Se ate dve. Se ate dve.
Lovely. Thank you. A, va, he, ma, he. A, va, he, ma, he. Talissa. None. Your name is None today. Oh, you're muted.
It's all that. Okay. A, va. Now, I would say vahe, not vahe. So I'm going to say a, vahe, mahe, a, vahe, mahe. Or let's see. A, vahe, mahe, a, vahe, mahe.
Excellent. Yeah. Talissa's making a point of doing lengthened for the diphthongs because the diphthongs take 2 matra or 2 beats. So that's excellent. So technically, anytime you see a diphthong, a long vowel, you should sing it for 2 beats versus 1. Yes, did you have a question?
Let me while I've got my mic on before I blow it up again. Let's go back to the Visarga a second and the pronunciations.
Oh, the Visarga.
Yeah. So I listen to a lot of stuff, and in chants, I guess because of the metrical limitations, a lot of times it's not pronounced. But in exercises like we're doing this, and I really appreciate our doing this. If it was me at home by myself, because I am counting and I'm doing a little made up kind of finger thing to make sure that I am doing, let's show off here and say 2 mantras, right? Okay. For some reason, this became a really big point to me. So let's see, Uttama Purusha in the first one, what would I say? I would say mi vaha maha.
Yes.
Now,
So that can be
that is-
pronounced, they could be pronounced both ways. You could pronounce it as more breath at the end, or you can pronounce it as repeating the preceding vowel. So both of those are correct. And we could chant it that way as well.
Okay, so because I have a hearing thing, in order to hear it and
Mhm.
emphasize the learning of it for myself, that's why I say vaha. I mean, I make sure I have a sound that I can sense. I'll put it that way. So the
Sure.
question is, since you and I guess Diana are in the same tradition, is this like a traditional preference? Accepting that
well,
metrical limitations would require that you make or not make it to get through a line in the right meter.
yeah,
But do they
usually,
teach it?
well, when we, and you can correct me if I'm, because Diana and I are in the same study group, but we're not technically, I don't know if we would say we were from the same lineage, but we do have one teacher that we share in common. And usually when we chant even like declensions or verb endings, we don't usually do the visarga echo of the preceding vowel until the end. So I don't know if we would for verbs, Diana, but we usually wait till the end of a line, and then we would say do the echo. But really, like I think what you're saying is valid, and especially if you want to use it as a reminder that the visarga is there, you could also have chanted it mi vaha maha, mi vaha maha. That's also possible. Yeah, but would we normally, Diana, would we normally go vi vaha? Oh no, vi mi vah maha. Would we normally do it at the end, or have we?
No, I would do this for myself, but I think I
Mm.
talk to myself. I would not do this in public, no, because you're right. It's only the last word.
No, but I mean, when we do it in class, I'm trying to remember. I think
No.
both are correct is my answer to that. So if that's helpful for you and we could, I mean, we have time, we could rechant them with the visargas if you want, or we could even do, if you like, I could find a verb, and then instead of just chanting, so this is what we would normally do in the study group that I'm in with Diana. We were doing Bhagavad Gita for a while, and we would do a sentence word for word. And then let's say you come across, well, we would look at every word. And then the one word is a noun. Well, we would chant all the declensions of that noun. So if it's a masculine noun, then we take that word, we chant the whole thing. Then we come across a verb, same thing. We would find the verb and we would see what Gana it's from, and then chant the whole verb with the endings. First we do endings, and then we would do the verb. So do we want to do, or I mean, I could leave it to you. Do you want to do endings again, or we could try doing a verb with the endings? What do we?
Let's try a verb. Let's try a verb.
A verb. Oh, okay.
Let's get something wrong.
Let's do a classic verb. Here we go. Can you see my verb here? Yes. Okay. So for Talissa, we'll chant it, and we'll also chant the visargas at the end. Yeah? Okay. So this is bhu Gana, the first Gana, where you have a guna of the root vowel, and then you tack on an and then the endings. And this is a verb we see a lot. So it'd be bhavati, bhavataha, bhavanti, bhavati, bhavataha, bhavanti. Let's hear from Matthew. Want to try, Matthew?
Sure. Bhavati, bhavataha, bhavanti, bhavati, bhavataha, bhavanti.
Beautiful. Bhavasi, bhavataha, bhavata, bhavas. Oh, sorry. Should be careful. Bhavasi, bhavataha, bhavata. I think everybody has gone that has their video on. If I call on a non-video person, will you chant? Shanti's there twice. Federico, would you chant? Oh, maybe he's not available. Richard?
I came in late, but I think I'm catching up what you're doing. So bhavasi, bhavataha, bhavata.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to hear the melody again?
I'm sorry, do what?
I'm chanting a melody and then
No,
you
I don't have a
repeat.
melody.
No, but I'm going to chant it and then you repeat
Okay.
it. Is that
Okay, sure.
Bhavasi, bhavataha, bhavata, bhavasi, bhavataha, bhavata.
I'm not very good at that. That's too complicated for me. My hearing's not good
Is
enough.
it?
I'll try bhavasi, bhavataha, bhavata, bhavasi, bhavataha, bhavata. So,
That's perfect. Excellent. Bhavami, bhavavaha, bhavamaha, bhavami, bhavavaha, bhavamaha. Alice.
should I do that one?
Bhavami, bhavavaha. I've lost the melody now, haven't I? I'll start
Yeah.
again. Bhavami, bhavaha, bhavamaha. Oh, that's awful.
No, it's okay. No, here. It's
Once more, Francis.
Bhavami, bhavavaha, bhavamaha, bhavami, bhavavaha, bhavamaha.
Bhavami, bhavavaha, bhavamaha, bhavami, bhavavaha, bhavamaha. I
Good.
can't
Yeah,
get
it
it.
goes.
Oh my
Yeah, it
goodness.
goes. Bhavami, bhavavaha. Goes a little lower. Bhavamaha, bhavami, bhavavaha, bhavamaha.
Bhavami, bhavavaha,
Vavamaha,
bhava.
vavavaha,
I need to watch the video
vavamaha.
back and
Yeah,
practice.
it's okay. But
But
the
thank you.
important thing is being able to do the pronunciation, and then the melody it comes with time and becomes a
No, it's
helpful
good to
tool.
do it, and I will definitely watch that back and have a practice. Thank you.
Well, should we do asti? Yeah, I like it. Okay. Asti, staha, santi, asti, staha, santi. Tara.
Asti, staha, santi, asti, staha, santi.
Asi, staha, stha. Asi, staha, stha. Sky.
Asi staha sta asi staha sta.
Nice. Asmi, svaha, smaha. Asmi, svaha, smaha. Jan.
Asmi svaha smaha. Asmi svaha smaha.
Yay! Excellent. Okay, well, I think that's good for today, unless there's, yay! Unless there's anything else, any other questions, anything at all. No?
Francis, I really appreciate your doing these chanting things. It's so because I'm not in any kind of group or, I mean, there's nothing around me supporting this at all. Okay. So, being exposed to what other people are doing in more organized or authentic or native born, et cetera, context is very helpful to me. Even watching like the little kids when they do their hand, I went, oh, that's good. And a lot of times I'll do my fingers, some like little physical thing, to reinforce the distinction that I'm number one noticing. Okay, it's not all and it's not all. It is not, but to learn to distinguish those sounds, and it's to realize, I think, that the the orthodoxy is that the distinction is actually length and not tone, or I don't know how else to call it, hue, tone quality. And
Yeah.
so it's and
Yeah.
it's not and because we tend to a lot. Anyway, but I have faux Sanskrit. I think that's what I'm doing here is faux Sanskrit, but that's all right.
No, not at all. I think we all are learning at our own pace and, assimilating the information that works the best for us. And then depending on what our backgrounds are, everybody has different capacities for it. Diana had said this once, what your language vowel sounds are, or maybe several, and so you have a different kind of bandwidth for sort of these sort of things. And so we're all working within our means to pronounce this language as faithfully as we possibly can. And as Professor Bryant also says, there's varying accents, different regions. Who knows how it actually sounded thousands of years ago? But the really beautiful thing is they did lay it out in this very practical way so that we can find the mouth position, that we can lengthen and shorten vowels, so we can approximate it as much as we can, because they were so diligent about really writing all that stuff out, the breath, the placement, the length. So that's really neat that we get access to that.
I just wanted to ask a quick question to everyone before we go into breakout, because that's the last thing that was on the questionnaire that I sent out a while ago about what people wanted to review in the community call. Does anyone have, I can send another questionnaire out, or if anyone wants to put in the chat, is there anything in particular that you would like to review in this call in a month's time? Because it doesn't matter if we go back all the way through the book, it can be anything. But yeah, just if you've got any thoughts or ideas on something maybe that you would like
Well,
to
I
do.
don't think we can learn this in half an hour, but I'm always getting messed up with the different declensions. But I don't think we can, I can sing this to myself until I'm done. It's nice.
But we can just practice, if people just want to keep
No, I think chanting is a good idea. It's not my idea, but it's wonderful. But I kind of, once I'm done and I try the next declension, I forget the first one. Something like this. Or I have maybe 2 or 3, but I forget the fourth one. If we just practice.
Yeah, like I said, and this is just like a suggestion, it could be a sentence. We could find like a relatively simple one. And just like we would do in our group, Diana, when we would do Bhagavad Gita, it could be like, what's this word? We all, look up that one word. Is it, a noun or a PPP or whatever the case may be? And then we can chant it in its declensions. And then what's the verb? Find the verb. Chant the verb in
I
its
would find that
conjugation.
really helpful.
Yes.
So we could do that. We could find just like really easy short sentences and then have it as a practice of finding the word, if it's female, feminine, masculine, neuter, finding the verb, what its Gana-s, and then chanting the declensions and the conjugations. That could be just like a
I could do that every time and endlessly.
Yeah, we could do that. But that's just a suggestion. Whatever. The wonderful thing about this group is it's led by the group. So whatever everyone as a group feels is the most helpful and useful, we're happy to do.
But if you think of something, or you really are struggling with something and you want to go over it, just send an email and we'll, we can just cover it. So yeah. And then we're going to go into breakout. So I just thought, well, you can, as always, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But if you feel that you just need a little prompt, I was thinking of, we're nearing the end, which is quite exciting that we've all come this far. And I don't know about anyone else, but sometimes at the moment I'm kind of like, oh, got to keep getting to that point. But just also feeling excited about what's next. So most of you probably saw the little clip that I shared of Professor Bryant talking about what's going to be next. And I just thought in the breakout we could talk about something that we're excited about. What are you excited about with your Sanskrit studies? So rather than focusing on, where we might be falling down or struggling, we can focus on something that we're feeling really good about and something that we're excited about going into the next, the last quarter and then onwards. So, yeah.
I hope he doesn't kick us out because we're too bad for his great plans for the future.
I think he's happy to teach whoever shows up. So
exactly. He's really happy that we are all so interested and dedicated, and it doesn't matter what level we're at, and we're all kind of, it doesn't matter, we're all interested and we're all participating, and he's really glad to teach, to keep going if there's interest and enthusiasm. So
Sure.
okay, I'll stop the recording.